panelist from Radio Mosi Tunya Breakfast, so which was one of the first shows ever actually in Livingston, where people used to be glued every Saturday, every morning, wanting to listen to what the panelists had for us. So, without further ado, welcome Milambo Miyoba Matambwe to give us one of the best dosage ever. Milambo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
Okay, so Milambo, firstly, you have had one of the interesting stories in sports. Actually, you were once the chairperson of Sport in Action. As I mentioned earlier, you were also a panelist on Radio Mosi Tunya Sports Show. What inspired that?
Okay, thank you so much. It's actually a good question. I was actually inspired into sports. I would just say into sports by my father.
Okay.
My father was actually a good fan of football, just to be specific.
Okay.
Yes, we watched football together. And the particular game that we actually watched, and that was very interesting. Interesting things to touch in that game. Yes, that game was a final cup match, and in the extra time, there was this player who was actually injured. I tell you, it was injured that everyone had lost hope, and now the coach wanted to introduce this other player to replace him. But to our surprise, he just stood up, folded his shorts, and went back into the game of play. He played to a victory. He actually scored, and that one elevated me to a certain point in the love of sport.
Oh,
That's
interesting. Go on.
And the other thing I would speak of was actually the tennis player commentary. The way he did his commentary was so intriguing that it was more like you are watching from actually you are there at the stadium. It was very interesting. It led me to start compiling. Whenever there was a very good tournament that we had, that was there, a tournament or a cup match, of course, a cup match.
Yes.
I used to write down. I would gather my papers. I would either buy a book or just take my papers, and then I would start writing. I would have a fixture, a printed out fixture, but I would rather I write in my book. I write for the group there, and as the games unfolded, I wrote them as they came, and also indicated the names of players and the minutes that they scored. But sadly, I don't have all the records, though I have a few from me, but starting from 2002.
Wow, that's a long time ago. Yes, that's so much dedication into that.
Sorry?
I'm saying that's so much dedication you had to put in.
I was also surprised that it was so. I was so much into it, and my mother was also surprised that I could do that.
Okay. So, your experience on sport in action and as well as in Radio Mosi Tunya, do you think the time that you spent there is compared to that time and now, is there enough room created for the females in sport? Looking at the likes of Gwen with the Napsa Stars, Jane, Dunta, the likes of Martha Nshimbi. Is there still enough room for females in sport?
Okay, on that one, I personally think this is and has actually been a process that has been gradually unfolding. Women are taking an increasingly active role in sport. The numbers are really growing, which is a good thing. We are happy to see our fellow women representing us. I would actually say the space is there.
Yes.
It's just a matter of the sports fraternity opening up equal opportunities to both men and women. If we have female teams and numbers growing compared to way back, female referees, female fans, it means that it means that there is an increased number of women in all areas. Yes, we can't run away from the fact that it was a man's world. Yeah. But the transitioning from a man's world to everyone's world has to take place. It has to unfold and it has to pick up a pace. Yeah. And it is possible, like Jen put it.
So it's very possible to do that, right?
Yes, it is possible.
So making that the space is going to be there and everything, but are the females taking up that space? Are there enough numbers from the female side?
I think the females are there. I've seen a number of females interested in different fields of the sport. I've seen them even online, even met some of them when we go for games there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen that they are taking up that step. It's just a matter of the fraternity to open up spaces for women to come in.
Yes.
Identify them. They are there.
Okay. So looking at this angle, right? Most people would say, no, there is no future in sports. There is no money, of which we have seen that there is money in sport. People are making a living out of it. Now, on the side of being the gender side, is there an allowance for females? I mean, is a female able to make a living out of sports?
Yes, I actually think there is. A female can make a living out of sports. Sports is wide and has actually been growing from way back. And in the most recent past, I think it became bigger and better. We talked when we talked of a year, we talked of greater things, not only in football but in other sports disciplines as well.
Okay.
But sadly, the COVID-19 attack worldwide has slowed things down. The progress has been slow in all areas. For example, the lockdown, the stopping of the leagues, the quarantining, etc. But of course, I believe one day the COVID-19 will come to pass and progress will pick up its pace. The women will find their place, and also it will be quite possible. It will be possible.
Okay, no, that's an interesting view looking at the situation that has been happening. Now, talking about, let's go deep into the sports area. Division 1, especially like Southern Province. Let's talk about Livingstone. Livingstone has 5 teams. Who do you really see pushing the slot for the National League, for the Livingstone representatives?
It is very interesting, Joseph, I would say. The league was so tight. It was so tight last season.
Yes.
And then from my own observation, I've seen that when people are placed on quarantine, the quarantining period, or when the league opens, everything is coming out differently. You cannot say this is exactly the way they used to play. This is exactly the way this team used to handle the matches. No. Everything that it's either they are, I would just say it's not easy to tell. It's not even easy to tell who is going to pick it up. Because yes, of course, on paper we would have the Vescovic Falls would have which finished actually on 39 points. Blue Arrows, New Moses Swallows, Mamba Energy Stars. Kaloma Stars contesting for the same. Play It Forward is also they are pushing for the same slot. And this time around, I've seen that people are very serious and they also want to do what? To take up that step. It's not really easy to tell who's going to cross over to our national league. But I would just mentioning two. I would say Blue Arrows and Mamba Energy Stars.
Okay. So, since all the predictions is done and all, but do you think the finance part is really taken care of in the Division 1? Because looking at the circumstances and the season that we are in, the league is starting on the 10th, if I'm not mistaken. The issue of rain season, so teams may be stuck at one place maybe for even 2 or 3 days waiting for a pitch to be fine. So finances were taken care of in Division 1 football.
About the finances in Division 1 South, of course, I know that teams have been preparing, but I don't really think that it's everyone who's going to manage the traveling and everything. But still, they have to fight.
Yeah.
They still have to fight and do their level best to cross over. And that is what we pray for, and we hope to see also a team from Livingstone crossing over.
Okay.
Despite the challenges of the issues of the finances and other related issues.
Okay, so looking at Livingstone again, sorry to bring you back there again. Livingstone is a tourist capital. Are teams in Livingstone taking advantage of that tag being the tourist capital?
I don't really think so. I don't think so that they're taking advantage of that part when it comes to the issue of being the tourist capital. Okay. It's more like everyone is minding their own business in their own area without looking outside the box.
Okay, so it's the issue of looking outside the box that really corners most clubs in the city.
Yes, it's a matter of looking outside the box. That's what I think.
Okay, so going back to you, is sports the number one thing for you?
That's a very interesting question, and it's it's a good one.
Yeah.
Just what I can tell you is I love sports, but I haven't really given it a number in my life. But what I can assure you is that it's important and it's part of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting view. And it's really amazing the fact that now football is growing at a pace where people are being inclusive, regardless of where they come from and the gender, the age, the creed, the religion. It's all inclusive. So, do you see the numbers growing in terms of following football in Livingstone in the city?
Oh yes, I see the numbers growing each and every day that passes. And also, I can make mention to it that there's another thing that is actually calling people to football. I think it's sports betting.
Yeah.
I've observed a lot of people have become fans also because of sports betting, and even yes, there are a lot of different things that are bringing people to sports.
Oh,
but sports betting is one of them, and the numbers are increasing each and every day that passes.
So it's safe to say that sports betting is it's easy to say that sports is actually empowering lives out there, right?
Yes, we can call that an empowerment.
Yeah.
Yes, we can call it an empowerment, because I've actually seen people who have actually won huge amounts of money from the same sports betting.
Okay. So regardless of whether they follow football or not, people want to bet.
Yes, whether they follow football or not, they begin to bet, and it doesn't only start. It starts from there, and the interest is growing to even going out there to go and see what is happening at the pitch.
Yes,
within the city.
That's interesting, because I've seen the number of clubs like in Ghana. Most Zambian clubs, since the introduction of betway, most Zambian clubs are also on the betting tickets of most people. So it's also increasing the following of Zambian football indirectly. Yes,
they are following. They are following it indirectly, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting view actually. Okay. So last question. So this all said and done, right? You know, we have this dosage and everything. You've given us a perfect view, right? So, is it possible for someone to have full-time life in sports, minus being a football player or an athlete, a hockey player or basketball player? Is it possible to be a full-time person in sport minus playing?
It is possible, yes, it is possible. There are ways in which, there are different ways in which actually people can be in full-time sports without playing the sport.
Okay.
Yes, I can only give I can give a few examples. Like for example, people can set up football games where people can actually be going there to watch football activities just there.
Okay.
And also those in business, they can, of course, selling merchandise, the jerseys, the sports jerseys, since we are talking about actually not playing and outside the pitch.
Yeah.
Again, yes, selling merchandise, wristbands, headbands, jerseys like that, boots, all that.
Oh, that's very interesting, and we really appreciate you for giving this awesome time spending with us and giving us a good dosage of information. And we look forward to host you again very soon, actually.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for the lovely show.
You're welcome once again.